Oh man, being dead sucks. Thanks, Zeus.
You got it, buddy. Anytime.
Greetings! Chuck the Blue Wizard here, and I'm alive, believe it or not. If you're a friend of the channel, and I hope you are, or at least you should be, or you're just subscribed to the channel and you like to catch my videos when they come out, which reminds me, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, you should definitely click that little button down there that says subscribe, and while you're there, give us a like, and maybe leave a comment or two. Share this video with your friends. I would really appreciate it. Back to the topic at hand. If you've been around, you know that I'm a huge fan of the game HeroQuest.
HeroQuest is the best game ever made, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
Now, the original HeroQuest came out in the 80s, and it was a joint venture between Milton Bradley and Games Workshop. Yes, that Games Workshop, to sort of give people a entry-level experience for Warhammer Fantasy battles.
I'll use my broadsword.
Then HeroQuest just kind of disappeared.
Fire of Wrath.
Now, I don't really know why. It was probably something about the license running out, or maybe it just wasn't selling as well anymore. Maybe it was all about the
Satanic Panic.
Who knows? But what I do know is that it's a great game.
The best game ever made.
I played it all the time when I was younger with my dad and my brothers, and we would go on quests and just have a ball. It's a really easy game to play, and just devote like a couple of hours to, and roll some dice and put it back, and then move on with your life. We fast forward to 2020. And we all know what happened during 2020, and I won't go into the details here. And during this time, a website appeared with what appeared to be a modern rendition of the Witch Lord from HeroQuest. So there was a mysterious, cryptic announcement coming out that seemed to be related to HeroQuest. But it had been silent for so long, people were thinking, what could it be? Who knows? Maybe it's like a mobile game. Maybe it's something else. Hasbro owns it. There's no way that they would re-release it, right? Well, it turns out that's exactly what they had in mind. They were going to fully re-release HeroQuest if it was crowdfunded through their HasLab platform. Now, if you don't know what that is, don't feel bad. It's Hasbro's version of Kickstarter, but it's completely internal. There were two tiers that you could support at. There was the regular level, and then there was the Mythic tier. The regular tier bought you a copy of the game, and the Mythic tier came with a bunch of cool stuff. I immediately backed it at the Mythic tier.
Shut up and take my money.
If this thing didn't get funded, no harm, no foul. I'd get my money back. But if it did, I would have everything that I could possibly want from HeroQuest. So long story short, the project does get funded. Now, about a year goes by, I got mine in the mail, and I couldn't have been happier. I had everything that I had had when I was younger, but it was mine now, and it was my own stuff. What I didn't tell you, at some point during my miniature painting career, I decided that I wanted to paint my dad's copy of HeroQuest. I did this for a couple of reasons. One, it would help me practice. And two, I had always wanted to play with a painted version of the game ever since I found out that you could paint miniatures. My younger brother was currently studying in Canada, and he was coming home for the Christmas holidays, and I rushed to get everything painted before he came home. So when he came home for Christmas, we were going to play HeroQuest, and we got to play with a fully painted set. It was really cool, and I'm really glad that I got to be able to do it. Looking at my unpainted set of HeroQuest, I thought to myself, this is a lot to paint, because not only did I have all of the stuff that I had painted for the original HeroQuest, but I also had a bunch of new goblins, abominations, which were called femurs in the original version, and I was a little more precious about these. I couldn't easily replace these miniatures if I screwed them up. The game had just come out, and there was no way for me to replace the miniatures. All that is to say is I finally resolved to paint them, and that was in 2020. And as of last month, finally have finished some of the HeroQuest figures. So the first thing that I worked on was the heroes. I decided I was going to paint all of them first because they're all unique minis and they kind of deserve a little bit of extra attention. I was a little rusty when I first started painting them, so I made a bunch of mistakes and went back over and corrected a bunch of things, but it wasn't too difficult to get them all painted. Those heroes are 4 versions of the Barbarian. That's the male sculpt, the female sculpt, the one from the Frozen Horror expansion, and the Barbarian sculpt from First Light. Oh, did I mention that I had bought all of the expansions up to this point? Because I have, except for Wizards of Morcar, which I just can't find it anywhere.
This is where I put
Wizards of Morcar.
if I had one.
Because nobody has it. But tangent over, there were 4 versions of the Barbarian that I had to paint. There were 3 versions of the Dwarf, 4 versions of the Elf, 4 versions of the Wizard if you count the Mentor figure, also the Sir Ragnar mini, then the unique heroes from the Mythic tier, the Warlock, the Bard, the Druid, and then with Against the Ogre Horde, they released 2 new Druid sculpts as well. And then I had the other hero pack, because I got all those as well. There's the Guardian Knight, which you can't find anymore, by the way. And then there was the Knight from the Rides of the Dread Moon expansion, Rogue Heir, which had 2 minis, and the Wandering Monk, which had 2 minis. You can see how this is adding up. The Adventurers from the Jungles of Delthrak, there are 2 of those. There are 2 Berserkers from Jungles of Delthrak as well. There are also 3 animal companions that the heroes have: a raptor, a wolf, and a saber tusk, which is kind of like a saber-toothed tiger thing. And then I had to move on to the monsters. The monsters are the most numerous of the figures in the core set and the expansions, because you gotta have stuff to fight and you gotta have stuff to kill. First, I started out with the orcs. There are 18 orcs if you combine all of the minis from Keller's Keep, the core set, and the Mythic tier. There were 2 unique sculpts that came with Mythic tier, these big guys holding hammers. I did 1 goblin as sort of a test speed paint thing. It didn't really work out. Then I followed up with the rest of the goblins, of which there are
20 goblins, both ranged and melee goblins, as well as a goblin witch or shaman, making that 21 with the one that I had already painted.
There are also 14 skeletons, 8 mummies, 8 zombies, 5 skeleton archers. There are also 4 orc archers, 2 chaos sorcerers, 6 abominations, 6 dread warriors, the Witch King, 2 gargoyles, and there were 4 elven mercenaries, and Venom, the dragon, which you see me painting here. All in all, that totals out to about 80, 81 minis. My math might be off. I'm literally looking at a computer screen that has them all laid out on a table, and I counted them. I may have miscounted. That's a lot of minis to paint, but still, they're all very unique minis. There are a few repeat sculpts amongst them, of course. The undead in particular are pretty across the board the same. There are a few unique sculpts that I got from the Mythic tier, but other than that, they're all the same pose. For that, I was actually very grateful. It made painting them a lot easier. I painted all of these minis on stream, actually. If you were following along for the past couple of years, I have been painting every last one of these guys on stream. In hindsight, they may have slowed me down a little bit. I was only painting for stream. People seem to get upset if I painted something off stream. It took me 2 years. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's also a giant dragon that came in First Light. I also painted. Needless to say, this was a pretty big endeavor for me. Now, Warhammer painters may think, that's a light army. That's nothing. And maybe you're right. It's still a pretty big undertaking to try to do it all at once. It's very intimidating, at least. What I did to get this all going, one thing was holding myself accountable. I said to myself, 2 nights a week, I'm going to stream. Unless I'm sick or exhausted or whatever, I'm going to stream 2 nights a week, and the stream is going to be me painting these minis. Sometimes people showed up, sometimes they didn't. It didn't matter, I still painted all the same. Squad painting was the bane of my existence. I've done it before. I used to paint Warhammer models all the time. I painted Space Marines, Blood Angels to be exact, and I've got whole squads of them painted. I've got a whole Blood Angel army. So I know what it means to paint a whole bunch of models, but I didn't paint them all at once. The other thing about these HeroQuest minis is that they're not as detailed or as crisp as your Games Workshop Citadel plastic miniatures. These guys are softer plastic and the details are much more shallow, especially on the old HeroQuest set. They have re-released the current version of the game with a little bit harder minis from what I hear. I haven't bought a new version of HeroQuest to test it out. Why would I? Already have one. And a lot of times that would create problems for me with picking out details and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I finished it. I capped it off with this blue dragon from the HeroQuest First Light set. It was a hugely rewarding experience. I didn't finish all of it though. There's so much more left to paint. Let me show you. Furniture. Furniture. My God, the furniture. So let's start with that. There are the doorways, the open doorways. There are 16, 5 closed doors, 2 regular iron doors, 2 iron doors from the Mage of the Mirror quest, 2 wooden quest doors, and 2 wooden quest doors from the Mage of the Mirror, 4 iron bar doors, and 4 heavy doors from Against the Ogre Horde. There are 2 big slidey doors from the arena portion of Against the Ogre Horde,
2 icy doors from the Frozen Horror,
2 weapons racks, there are 2 fireplaces, 2 tombs, 4 bookcases, 2 cabinets, 2 alchemist tables, 3 tables, 2 thrones, a torture rack, an ogre throne, 2 mages tables, 2 statues, 1 sort of clear tomb. There are 2 pit thingies that you can put this crystal or fire on, 6 treasure chests. There's also these little skulls and these little rats that come with it. I may or may not paint those, but I'm including them because they're here. There's like a treasure hoard thing and another statue. In addition to that, I still have more miniatures that I have to paint. There are 3 swordsmen, 3 halberdiers, 3 great swordsmen, and 3 crossbowmen. 8 cultists, 4 gray ones and 4 green ones, a bunch of ogre mercenaries. There are 4 of these axe guys, 2 of these gals with, I think they're clubs or staves or something, and there's 2 of these club guys. There are a bunch of enemy elves,
6 elven swordsmen,
and 2 assassins,
6 elven archers,
2 like elf knights. This other mini, I think she's like the elf queen or something. I don't really know. 2 polar warbears. There are 3 frost gremlins, 2 yetis, 3 wolves, the frozen horror himself. There are 3 of these creeping horror dudes from Jungles of Delthrak. There are 2 more raptors. They're enemy raptors. There's a giant snake and a giant spider. 1 big ghost, 3 ghosts. There's a giant ape wielding a hammer from Jungles of Delthrak. 3 ogre warriors, big ogre warriors. There's the ogre king and 2 ogre generals, I believe they're called. So that's a lot. If you notice from the video, I don't have any of that primed. None of that is ready to go. And I did that on purpose. I don't want to overwhelm myself again. I don't want to feel like I've got all these prime minis ready to go. I have to get them all painted. What I'm going to do this time, and what I should have done the first time, honestly, I got a little ambitious. I'm going to pick which of these I want to paint, prime them, then paint them.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
And I think I'm gonna start with the furniture. And the reason why is I'm not that excited about it. I'm sorry, furniture doesn't excite me. It doesn't have any movement. It's all very rigid. I probably can do a lot of dry brushing on a lot of it to make it look good. It'll go quick, and when it's done, it's done. And that's the end of it. I think that's a much healthier way to go forward with how to get all this stuff done. It took me 2 years to paint all those other guys, and I don't want it to take me 2 more years to paint all of these. So I'm probably gonna be doing a lot of painting, but off stream. I will record a video about it when it's finally done. So that's it. I'm very proud of how the 2 dragons that I painted turned out. Venom and the dragon from First Light are really cool, and I really wanted to make them look very impressive. I hope that I achieved that with what you see here. In the end, I think that it's a really big deal for me to have gotten done as much as I did. Painted more than 80 miniatures over the span of 2 years if you count all the heroes. I didn't count them all, so maybe I'll count it all and I'll put the number up here. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, again, click that button, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, all that stuff to help me out so that people can see this and hopefully grow the channel a little bit more. Next time there'll be a lot more painting. I think maybe some cool conversions that I want to get done. We'll do something pretty wacky next time. But a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys have been awesome through all of this. If you want to join my Patreon, it only costs $5 and you get access to all of my videos 24 hours before they come out. You also get an early look at all the pictures I post on my Instagram at Blue Wizard Studio for the stuff that I've painted. I just did a huge dump of all of the pictures of the HeroQuest minis that I had painted recently, and they got to see the finished ones before you people on YouTube did. The Twitch stream people, they got to see it way before that, and I haven't streamed much on Twitch recently, and if you want to follow me on Twitch, please do, because if I start streaming miniature painting, that's where it's going to be. It's also here on YouTube, whichever your preferred streaming platform is. And that brings me to this. I have two things that I want to promote. The first thing is, if you watched my last video, the GoFundMe for Different Dice Games is still up. We are still working towards our goal. If you want to donate to the GoFundMe, the link will be in the description below. Please give whatever you can to help us get this thing off the ground. It's very close. We are so close to reaching our goal. And once we hit that, we've got some dice bags that we want to release for people to purchase. And once all that's available, I will have links to the Different Dice Games shop in all of my videos going forward. If you made it this far, you'll know that in my last video I said I wanted to reach the goal of 100 patrons before the end of the year. And I still want to do that. And I also hinted at a little giveaway that I would like to do. So here it is. If I hit 100 patrons before the end of the year, I will use my earnings from that Patreon to buy a fresh, pristine HeroQuest box. And I will give it away to one patron. That's right. You have to be a patron if you want to win the box of HeroQuest. On top of that, before I send it to you, I will paint it. I will paint the entire core system HeroQuest box. Not First Light, that's a cop-out. There's only like 5 minis in there. But the core game, that means the 4 standard heroes, the orcs, the goblins, the gargoyle, all the stuff that comes in the core box, that'll all be painted, including the furniture. I will paint all of that for you before I send it out to you. If I get more than 100 patrons, I'll still do the same thing, but I'm not buying a second HeroQuest box if I hit 200. That would be absolutely insane. I would not do that. Maybe if I hit 200, I'll get like an expansion on top of it. If I don't hit 100 patrons, there's no giveaway, and nobody's gonna win any HeroQuest. If you don't care about that sort of thing, that's fine too, but still consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this long, and I will see you in the next video. Zeus, do your thing.
Alrighty, beaming you up.
Power up.